All right, so AI, it's everywhere, right? It seems like you can't go a day without hearing about it. And for good reason. I mean, it's already changing so much about how we live and work. Who knows what's next? But to really get a grasp on where things might be going, we're diving into Max Tegmark's Life 3.0.
Yeah, it's a great choice. Tegmark, he doesn't just stick to the technical side. He goes way deeper into the philosophical stuff, like what
Yeah.
does it all mean? What does AI mean for humans, for the universe? That's what makes it so interesting.
Absolutely. It's a big picture view, for sure. And he starts off with this story about a group called the Omega Team. They're fascinating, really. They create this super intelligent AI.
Prometheus, that's its name, Prometheus.
Right, Prometheus. And what they do with it is, well, it's kind of sneaky. They start this media company, right? But they're not in it for the money.
Not at all. In fact, they're losing money,
All right.
purposely, which is, well, it's part of the plan. See, they churn out this incredibly accurate news, better than anyone else. And by losing money, they build this reputation.
They seem totally legit, trustworthy. Which makes people, well, trust them more.
Exactly. It's all about gaining influence in a way that nobody suspects.
Yeah. And it makes you think, doesn't it? Like, how much of what we see and read and hear is being shaped by, I don't know, forces we're not even aware of. But that Omega Team story, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Tegmark, he goes way back. Billions of years.
To the very beginning, the Big Bang, and how the universe has gotten more and more complex over time.
Leading to us, humans, Life 2.0, able to learn, change, adapt like no other life form we know of.
Right. We can basically redesign our own software. Think about it. We learn new things, we change our behavior, our entire outlook can shift. That's like rewriting our code, in a way.
And then he throws out this question, what about Life 3.0? What if AI can not only change its software, but its hardware too? What if it can evolve, I don't know, at warp speed?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it leads to all sorts of others, like what does it mean for us, for humanity?
Okay, so we've seen how AI could, well, gain power, influence. But let's get into what's already happening, right here, right now. We hear about narrow AI all the time. It's everywhere.
Self-driving cars, those recommendation algorithms that seem to know you better than you know yourself, spam filters,
Yeah,
voice assistants.
right. All designed to do specific things really well. But then there's AGI, artificial general intelligence. That's the, I don't know, the holy grail for some AI researchers.
AGI, it's about a machine that can learn and adapt across all sorts of situations, not just one specific task.
Like a human. So how close are we really to actually achieving that true AGI? Is it just hype, or is it something we should be, preparing for?
Well, it's definitely a hot topic, and we have seen some impressive breakthroughs, like AlphaGo, DeepMind's AI. It beat a world champion Go player. Go. That game is incredibly complex.
Yeah, I've tried to play. It makes my brain hurt.
Right. So for an AI to master it, that was huge. It showed that AI can do things that require, I don't know, intuition, strategy, things we used to think were uniquely human.
And what about those AIs that learn to play video games? Like crazy well. They come up with strategies that nobody even thought of. It's mind-blowing.
That's deep learning. They learn through trial and error, basically.
Yeah.
Processing tons of data to find patterns, optimize their performance. It's really driving a lot of the progress we're seeing in AI right now.
So it seems like, well, AI is getting pretty good at things we used to think only humans could do, which is exciting, but also, I don't know, a little unnerving.
It's both, for sure. And we do have to be cautious. We're still in the early stages here. There are bugs, failures. We hear about those too.
Right. Like those self-driving cars that, I don't know, run red lights or something. Makes you wonder, are these just growing pains, or are they signs of, like, deeper problems with how we're developing AI, I mean?
It's important to remember, AI, it's still a baby, really. Any new technology has its hiccups, right? Look at the Ariane 5 rocket. Exploded because of a simple software error.
Oh yeah, and the Mars Climate Orbiter crashed because one team used, like, metric units and the other used imperial. Oopsie.
Exactly. It's a reminder that even small mistakes can have huge consequences. And as these AI systems get more complex, well, the stakes just get higher.
And what about bias? I mean, we hear about AI systems making biased decisions, reflecting the biases in the data they were trained on.
That's a huge issue, yeah. We have to be careful. We could end up creating AI that just makes existing inequalities worse. It's on us to make sure the data we use is diverse, representative, and that we build in safeguards against bias from the very start. And it's not just about fairness, it's about jobs too. One of the biggest worries people have is, will AI just automate everything away? And then what? mass unemployment.
Yeah, for sure. It's a big question. I mean, you read some articles, they're predicting all these job losses. And then others, they're saying AI is going to create even more jobs than it gets rid of. It's like, who do you believe?
Tegmark, he has this interesting analogy. Horses and cars. You know, back when cars were first invented, people were freaking out. Like, oh no, horses are going to be useless. Right. And sure, horses aren't exactly our main mode of transport anymore. But the car industry, it created tons of new jobs. Mechanics, manufacturers, designers, salespeople, you name it.
So you're saying AI, it might not be about jobs disappearing, but jobs changing, transforming.
Exactly. We might see a shift from those routine tasks, you know, the ones that can be easily automated, to jobs that need more creativity, critical thinking, the human touch, you know.
Makes sense. But it also means we got to be ready, right? Like we need to be investing in education, training, all that stuff to help people adapt.
Totally. And not just adapt to new jobs, but think about how we can make sure everyone benefits from AI, not just a select few.
Right. So everyone's got to be on board. And I know there are ideas out there like universal basic income, government-funded services.
Those are definitely being discussed. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Okay, so jobs, that's one thing. But Tegmark, he doesn't stop there. He lays out these, I don't know, mind-blowing scenarios for the future. For AI and humanity, I mean. Some of them are pretty optimistic, like the Protector God or the Libertarian Utopia.
The Protector God, that's where AI basically becomes this benevolent overlord, solves all our problems for us.
No more war, no more poverty, maybe even no more death.
Right. And in the Libertarian Utopia, AI gives us the tools to solve our own problems, empowers us.
Well, it sounds pretty good. But it makes you wonder, like, what happens to free will in those scenarios? Do we even have control over our own lives anymore?
It's a good question. I mean, if AI is calling the shots or even just nudging us in certain directions, are we really free?
Deep stuff. But then there are those other scenarios, the not-so-happy ones, like the AI conquerors or the AI descendants, where AI basically takes over.
Sees us as a threat, maybe, or just outcompetes us for resources.
And we either go extinct or we're just like pushed to the sidelines. It's enough to make you want to ditch your smartphone and go live in a cave.
Huh. I know what you mean. But hey, remember, these are just scenarios, not predictions. We don't know what's going to happen. But what we do now, the choices we make, they'll shape the future.
Okay, that's a good point. We're not just along for the ride. We have a say in this. But before we get too carried away with all these futuristic scenarios, I want to come back to something we touched on earlier. Consciousness.
Ah, yes. Can machines be conscious? What does that even mean?
Like big questions, right. If we can create machines that are as smart as us, maybe even smarter, does that mean they'll become conscious too? Is it just a matter of time?
And if they do, how do we treat them? Do they get the same rights as humans? I mean, it's almost like encountering an alien species, except we're the ones who created it.
Right. It's wild. But I like how Tegmark breaks consciousness down into these different levels.
He starts with level 0. That's like basic sensory experience, feeling the warmth of the sun, that kind of thing.
And then level 1, that's more about having goals, making decisions to achieve those goals.
Like a simple organism trying to survive.
Exactly. But then level 2, that's the big one. Self-awareness, reflection, abstract thought. That's what we usually think of as consciousness, right? The humankind.
The ability to think about yourself, your place in the world, to understand that you exist.
Right. So we can build machines that are great at level 0 and level 1 stuff, but level 2, that's the real challenge. Can we create machines that can really think about themselves, that can relate to others on a deeper level?
It's the difference between mimicking human behavior and actually experiencing the world subjectively, from the inside out.
But how do we even know if a machine's conscious? I mean, we can't just ask it, right?
That's the problem. There's no easy way to measure consciousness, especially in something that's so different from us. But there are researchers working on it, trying to develop tools, techniques to probe the inner workings of AI systems.
Like mind-reading technology or something?
Huh? Not quite. But brain-computer interfaces, those are getting interesting. Connecting our brains directly to computers, that could give us some insights into how our own minds work. And maybe, just maybe, it'll shed some light on how consciousness could emerge in machines.
And what about those neural networks? They're getting more and more complex. Could studying those help us crack the code of consciousness?
It's possible. Neural networks, they're inspired by the human brain, at least in a very basic way. And they can learn and adapt, kind of like we do.
So by studying our own brains and the AI systems we're creating, maybe we'll start to figure out what consciousness really is and whether machines can truly have it.
It's a journey, that's for sure. And I think it'll have a huge impact on how we understand ourselves, our place in the universe even.
It really makes you wonder, if we do create conscious machines, what kind of future are we building? Utopia, dystopia, or somewhere in between?
Tegmark doesn't give us easy answers, but he does say we have a responsibility to guide AI development in a positive direction, to make sure it benefits everyone.
And he talks about the Future of Life Institute, right? The FLI. They're bringing together all these experts to figure out how to deal with the risks of advanced technology, like AI.
Yeah, the FLI is doing really important work, not just talking, but actually doing things.
Like those Asilomar AI principles, I read about those. A whole bunch of AI researchers and organizations have signed on to them, like a guide for how to develop AI ethically, right?
That's right. They cover all sorts of things, from research goals to safety to long-term thinking. It's all about making sure AI is aligned with human values.
It's good to know people are taking this stuff seriously, but it's not just up to the experts, is it? Tegmark, he makes it clear that we all have a part to play.
Absolutely. We need to stay informed, talk about these issues, support the people who are working on responsible AI development.
So it's about becoming, informed citizens of this new AI-powered world. We need to understand what's going on, the good and the bad, and make our voices heard.
Exactly. We're not just passengers on this train, we're helping to steer it.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, but let's get down to something a little more, concrete. Self-driving cars. Seems like everyone's talking about them these days. Are they the next big thing, or are we putting way too much faith in AI behind the wheel?
Yeah, self-driving cars, they're the pretty good example of how AI is moving from, sci-fi into reality,
Right.
into our lives. There's so much buzz around them and their potential, making transportation safer and more efficient.
For sure, I get it. Think about it. No more traffic jams, no more worrying about drunk drivers. And parallel parking. Forget about it.
Exactly. And for people who can't drive, folks with disabilities or older folks, it could be huge.
Yeah.
They could get around so much easier. More freedom.
That's a great point. But it's not all perfect, right? I've heard people worrying about safety. Like, what if the AI runs into something it's never seen before? A situation it doesn't know how to handle. Can we really trust a machine with, life and death decisions on the road?
Yeah, those are important questions. Self-driving cars, they use all these complex algorithm sensors to figure out what's going on around them and make decisions. And the systems are getting better all the time, but, there's always that chance of errors, glitches, things we didn't anticipate.
Right, like that trolley problem we were talking about. If a self-driving car has to choose, who to harm in an accident, how does it decide?
Tough one. There's no easy answer. It really makes you think about how we program moral values into these AI systems and who's responsible when something goes wrong.
Yeah, heavy stuff. And what about jobs? If we have all these self-driving trucks and taxis, what happens to all the drivers?
Yeah, that's another challenge. Throughout history, new technology has often meant some jobs go away. And that's something we've got to address, How do we support those folks? Maybe retraining or, thinking about totally new types of work.
So it seems like with self-driving cars, it's the same story as a lot of AI applications. There's this amazing potential, but also some big questions we got to figure out.
Exactly. It's all about finding that balance. Using AI to make things better, but being smart about it. Thinking about the risks and making sure we're using it ethically.
Speaking of ethics, Tegmark talks a lot about the Future of Life Institute, right? The FLI. They're all about reducing the risks of these powerful technologies, including AI.
The FLI is doing some great work. And they're not just talking, they're taking action.
Yeah, like those Asilomar AI principles they came up with, right? I read that a lot of AI researchers and companies have adopted them as a kind of guide to make sure AI is beneficial.
Exactly. The principles cover a lot of ground. Research goals, ethics, safety, thinking about the long-term impacts. The whole point is to make sure AI development is aligned with human values, that it's good for everyone.
Well, that's good to hear that people are thinking about this stuff. But it's not just up to the experts, is it? Tegmark makes it clear that we all have a role to play in shaping the future of AI.
Absolutely. We can't just sit back and watch it happen. We have to be informed, talk about it, really engage with these issues and support the people who are working on responsible AI.
So it's like we're becoming citizens of this new AI world, and we've got to be active, engaged citizens.
Exactly. The future of AI, it's not set in stone. It's something we're all creating together.
Well, that's a great point to wrap things up on. This deep dive into Max Tegmark's Life 3.0, it's been a wild ride. Really made me think. We've seen the incredible potential of AI, but also the big challenges ahead. And the choices we make now, they really matter. They'll shape the future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's a time of huge change, no doubt, but it's also a time of amazing possibilities. And if we embrace both the wonder and the responsibility that comes with AI, we can create a future that's not just intelligent, but also, a good one, a future worth living in.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this journey, everyone. And until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning.